For this episode of Adam and Eats, we are making what can best be described as meat candy. Beef short ribs are one of my favorite cuts of beef, and when cooked low and slow with an Asian-inspired braising liquid and the aromatic vegetables you see here, they're going to knock the socks off of anyone who has a bite. This is definitely a high-effort but high-reward recipe that will be asked for again and again if you make it for your friends, so proceed with caution. Here I have about 5 pounds of beautifully marbled boneless short ribs that we salted the night before. Cut the meat into even 3-inch cubes and set aside. Next, quarter a pound of rinsed cremini mushrooms, but any mushroom will work here just fine. Now for our aromatics, roughly chop 3 Thai red chilies, leaving in the ribs and seeds. Peel and chop 2 yellow onions, chop up 1 large carrot, as well as the whites of 4 scallions, setting aside the greens for later. Get yourself a big old knob of ginger, removing the skin with a spoon or just slicing off the skin with your knife. Then with this big knob, slice it into about 1/4-inch slices, and then peel 8 cloves of garlic and add it to a bowl with the chilies, onions, carrots, and scallion whites for later. Now to create our braising liquid. This is a devilish concoction of umami bombs that will bring a ton of flavor to the party. To a large measuring cup, add 4 bay leaves, 2 teaspoons of Chinese 5-spice, a tablespoon of gochujang, which is a Korean chili paste, a shake of cayenne pepper, 1 cup of soy sauce, a 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar, 2 tablespoons of fish sauce, a tablespoon of sesame oil, a tablespoon of hoisin sauce, a tablespoon of oyster sauce, and the juice of 2 limes. Whisk this all together, add 10 solid crankety cranks of black pepper, and set aside until later. You can find all of these ingredients at your local Asian supermarket or online on Amazon. Give your meat a final dry off with paper towels and season with kosher salt. In a large oven-safe pot or Dutch oven, heat up a few tablespoons of neutral oil and get it ripping hot. Deeply brown the meat on all 6 sides. This step is the most important of this entire recipe. If you don't get that deep brown crust all over the short ribs, they will come out mushy and bland instead of crusty and delicious. Set the meat aside on a plate and add your quartered mushrooms to the pot with a pinch of salt. The key to browning mushrooms is patience. Once they give up all their moisture, the sound will change and they will begin to fry. Season them up with pepper and deeply browned for around 10 minutes or until they look like this. Set the mushrooms aside in a bowl and add in your chopped aromatics. Brown these on high heat for about 5 minutes just to give them a little head start on cooking. Add in a 6-ounce can of tomato paste and fry that off for a few minutes just to get rid of that raw tomatoey flavor. Deglaze the pot with a cup of mirin, which is a Japanese cooking wine, scraping all the little brown bits off of the bottom of the pot. Return the beautifully browned mushrooms, hunks of beef, and any and all accumulated juices back to the party. Add in your braising liquid and then give it a stir to evenly disperse all the partygoers and pour in enough chicken stock to partially submerge the top layer. Bring it up to a boil, partially cover with your lid, and place into a 300-degree Fahrenheit oven for 4 to 6 hours or until the meat is fork tender but not completely falling apart. Your entire apartment building will smell amazing at this point, and you will be greeted with tender meat and a rich gravy. For presentation's sake and to keep everything warm, I like to gently remove the meat to a rimmed baking sheet, placing each beautiful chunk in a circle around the outside and placing that sheet pan into a low oven to keep warm. Scrape down the sides of the pot and dump it all into a strainer, pressing out the liquid and removing the bay leaves. Place all the desiccated vegetables in a bowl, and while it looks like mush, it's the most delicious mush you've ever had. Skim the fat with a ladle, or if you have one, you can pour the liquid into a gravy separator. Pour the fat into a jar and save for future cooking. To make the glaze, pour the defatted liquid into a sauce pot along with a cornstarch slurry of 1 tablespoon cornstarch and a bit of water and bring to a boil. Add 3 tablespoons of honey, allow to boil and reduce down until it reaches a nice thick consistency like you see here. Trim the florets and thinly slice the stems off of a few heads of broccoli. Fill up the dirty Dutch oven halfway with water and add a palmful of salt, bring to a rolling boil, and blanch for 3 minutes. Blanching means simply boiling a piece of food in salted water for a few minutes to par cook it as well as improve its color and texture. Drain the water and add the desiccated braising vegetables and stir around to incorporate. Add this whole pot to the center of your baking dish. Tenderly spoon the glaze onto each of your hunks of meat and pour any of the extra glaze over the broccoli. Atop this beautiful plate of food, rain down sesame seeds and sliced scallion greens. Serve with some white rice and dig into the fruits of your labor. Before tasting, I recommend sitting down and making sure your socks are firmly secured. The meat melts in your mouth and is just an explosion of umami, salty, sweet, spicy, and beefy flavor. Long braises like this are a labor of love, but they can turn a relatively cheap cut of meat into an absolute delicacy. And that is it. The full recipe and ingredient list are in the description down below, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.